immediately after arrival at the airport transfer to Vic. The sky for the first sunrise at Deer Holy is cloudy, and the sea makes itself heard. At Fagerholsmarai Lagoon, the rain falls lightly, enveloping the landscape in a mysterious atmosphere, and the gray sky reflects on the still water, creating plays of light. With wet hands and a soaked backpack, I rely on my phone and GoPro to capture some details. Even in the rain, Iceland can give emotions worth framing. Along the way, the encounter with the reindeer. This year, winter has spread its coldest blanket over Iceland, freezing the magic. The Jökulsárlón Lagoon has completely frozen, trapping its splendid fragments of ice and preventing them from reaching the ocean. No diamonds, lying on the volcanic sand of the famous Diamond Beach. No play of light for the photographer's lenses. Only silence, frost, and a still landscape that tells the story of the power of Nordic nature in its most extreme face. The sunrise at Diamond Beach welcomes us with an intense and vibrant light, while the wind lashes the black sand with decisive force. The air is biting, but the spectacle before our eyes is irresistible. The first rays of the sun light up the scene with vivid and contrasting colors. Despite the cold and the wind, we stop to immortalize this unique moment, where nature seems to paint with brush strokes of pure light. Even on the move, Iceland never ceases to amaze. The views that pass by the window seem painted. Expanses of black lava, snow-capped mountains, sudden waterfalls, and skies that change color by the minute. Every curve offers a new wonder and reminds us that, sometimes, the journey itself is the true destination. Fjallarárlón Lagoon welcomes us with all its majestic beauty, a silent body of water dotted with icebergs that shine under the sun. The ice floats slowly, like sculpture suspended in time, while the fresh air and the clear light of the sunny day make the day simply perfect. We set off towards the spot chosen to capture the sunset, the magical lagoon of Jökulsárlón. This time, we will position ourselves along the wildest shore opposite the visitor center to seek less beaten and more intimate perspectives. It is the perfect moment to be inspired by the golden light that caresses the reflections of the ice and tell, through the lens, the quiet wonder of this timeless place. Among the most fascinating shots of the day, those dedicated to the iconic seals of Jökulsárlón stand out. Elegant and curious, they emerge between the blocks of ice like silent guardians of the lagoon. Their attentive eyes and fluid movements add a touch of wildlife to this glacial scenario, giving unique moments to immortalize and remember. The only sour note of this unforgettable trip was the northern lights. Every evening, we scanned the sky with bated breath, hoping for a break in the clouds that would give us the long-awaited show. The images you see were taken in a very brief moment of respite, when the sky opened up just long enough for a few shots. Unfortunately, during our stay, southern Iceland remained the only corner of northern Europe that was constantly overcast, while elsewhere spectacular auroras were lit up. A small disappointment, certainly, but one that takes nothing away from the magic of the trip. There is great trepidation in the air for this morning's shots. Today we have one of the most anticipated moments of the entire trip, the visit to the spectacular ice caves of Vatnajökull National Park. An experience that combines adventure with enchantment, where nature sculpts ephemeral works of art made of light and crystals. We will walk inside ice caves with blue-green shades, with the camera ready to capture every reflection, every curve sculpted by time and water. It is the kind of place you don't forget, where every shot promises to tell a story of wonder and glacial silence. Despite the dawn being veiled by gray clouds, Stockton's Beach never disappoints those who love photography. The low clouds add a dramatic atmosphere to the landscape, accentuating the contrast between the black dunes of volcanic sand and the majestic peaks of Vesterhorn that rise on the horizon like an ancient castle. The pools of water reflect the leaden sky, creating suggestive compositions that give unforgettable shots. Here the light creeps between the folds of the Icelandic landscape with silent grace, giving visual emotions even when the sun keeps waiting. On the way back to Vik, we take a short but fascinating stop at the famous Yoda Cave. Hidden among the Icelandic cliffs, this cave owes its name to the curious shape of the entrance that recalls the profile of the wise Jedi Master. An unusual and surreal corner, where nature has fun surprising with unexpected shapes, giving travelers and photographers a moment of unexpected wonder in the heart of the volcanic landscape. Having reached Vik in time for sunset, we head towards Deer Holy, one of the most scenic places in southern Iceland. The cliffs, lashed by a strong wind, offer a natural stage of rare beauty. Spectacular views open up on every side. Natural arches that plunge into the ocean, black expanses of volcanic sand, majestic sea stacks, and waves that crash with primordial force. Here, in a concentration of a few meters, nature puts on a show in all its nuances, offering glimpses that seem to have come out of a Nordic dream. It is one of those places that take your breath away, where every shot is a postcard and every moment a visual poem. To photograph the sunrise at Rianistra Beach, caution is a must. The infamous waves of this Atlantic beach, capable of surprising us with their sudden force, pushed us to position the tripods at a safe distance from shoreline. Yet despite the power of the undertow and the danger of the currents, every photographer knows that this stop is essential. Rianistra, with its black volcanic sand, the imposing cliffs of perfectly hexagonal basalt columns, and the famous Reinestränger stacks that rise proudly from the gray-blue waters, is a place that captures the imagination. When the first light of day lights up the landscape with golden and pink hues, every shot becomes a tribute to the wild and primordial power of Iceland. This is a magical place, surrounded by ancient and fairy tale legends, among which the most popular tells the origin of the stacks. They are said to be two enormous trolls, transformed into stone by the sun, because they were caught stealing a ship. Needless to say, it is one of the most famous and frequented beaches in Iceland, and to photograph it deserted, you have to get up really early. Vik I Murdal Beach, with its black sand and surreal atmosphere, is one of the most accessible and fascinating wonders of the southern coast of Iceland. Located a few steps from the town of Vik, it offers a unique perspective on the famous Reinestränger stacks, observed this time from their lesser-known but equally evocative side. It is the perfect place to be enchanted by the contrast between the darkness of the lava, the white of the impetuous waves, and the legendary aura that surrounds every glimpse of this extraordinary land. The next wonder on our itinerary is the spectacular Skogafoss, one of Iceland's most iconic waterfalls. Easily accessible, just a few steps from the car park, this waterfall impresses with its majestic symmetry and the power of its jet. It's no coincidence that it was chosen as the cover of the famous Lonely Planet guide. Getting close to its roar is a sensory experience. Every step towards the water means more splashes, more emotion, and more cleaning of the photographic filters. Although there's a side path that leads to a higher vantage point, nothing beats the view from below, with the water descending like a silver curtain against a dreamy backdrop. Today we immerse ourselves in one of the most iconic experiences in Iceland, a visit to the splendid Seljalandsfoss, the waterfall that enchants everyone who travels the ring road. With a dizzying drop of 65 meters, the water elegantly throws itself from a rock face, creating a natural spectacle that will take your breath away. Unlike many other waterfalls, Seljalandsfoss offers a special touch, a path that in summer allows you to walk behind its veil of water, giving you a unique and magical perspective. In this video, we are in February, and the path is closed due to ice, but we couldn't resist going as close as possible, well equipped with waterproof clothing to face the icy spray.
Zout moeten eten.
It is one of the most photographed and fascinating stages of the country, and a must for those who want to experience the wild soul of Iceland. After admiring its majesty, we set off along the path that continues to the left of the Seljalandsfoss waterfall, less traveled but full of wonder. Skirting the rock face and passing a small waterfall, a true hidden jewel of the southern Icelandic coast opens up before us. Fabrizio. More discreet in numbers, 40 meters high, but surprising for its almost mystical atmosphere, Fabrizio is hidden inside a narrow gorge, like a secret kept by nature. With a sure step and a little balance between the wet stones, it is possible to approach and be enchanted by the force of the water that echoes in the green cave. A unique experience difficult to forget. And of course, it is impossible to resist the photo on the rock, with the waterfall enveloping everything like a curtain of water. We end the waterfall day with sunset at Gullfoss. Gullfoss is not just a waterfall. It is a natural monument to the power of water. With its dizzying double jump that plunges into a deep canyon between sprays and roars, it is undoubtedly the most scenic and iconic of Icelandic waterfalls. Its name, Golden Waterfall, evokes poetic and mysterious images. Some say it derives from the golden reflections that its waters take on at sunset. Others attribute the name to the rainbow that often dances among its suspended mists. Gullfoss offers emotions from every angle, thanks to its numerous viewpoints distributed along an accessible and evocative path. An imposing spectacle that celebrates the strength and primordial beauty of Iceland. Along the road to new Icelandic wonders, we stop to immortalize a suggestive lava flow, now softened by time and completely covered in soft green lichens. One of those lunar landscapes that only Iceland can offer. Not far away is the Bjarnarhofen Shark Museum, a small but fascinating museum that tells one of the most curious traditions of the country, the fishing of Greenland shark and its singular transformation into hakarl, the famous fermented shark meat. Inside, stories of the sea and Icelandic culture intertwine, among ancient instruments and the pungent scent of tradition. An unusual stop, but one that tells a lot about the most authentic identity of Iceland. This morning we had an appointment with the history and power of nature. A visit to Geyser, the oldest known geyser in the world, so famous that it gave its name to all the others. Shrouded in fog and under a light rain, we found ourselves faced with an almost mystical atmosphere, made even more evocative by the sudden eruption that hurled a column of water and steam over 30 meters high into the air. Photographing it was not easy between fogged lenses and persistent drops, but the spectacle was so fascinating that it repaid every effort. A powerful moment, which tells the primordial strength of Iceland better than any word. Tonight, we will fall asleep with an exceptional view. Kirkjufell, the iconic mountain of the Snæfell's Peninsula, which with its 463 meters stands elegant and solitary on the Icelandic landscape. Its conical shape, almost perfectly sculpted, and a privileged position near the sea make it a true magnet for photographers and travelers from all over the world. And tonight, it will be our companion under the Icelandic sky. Of all the film locations in Iceland, Kirkjufell and its waterfall Kirkjufellsfoss stand out as the most iconic, thanks also to their famous appearance in the 6th and 7th seasons of Game of Thrones. This morning we dedicate ourselves to photographing one of the most beloved and recognizable views of the country, the perfect silhouette of the mountain reflected next to the waterfalls. Kirkjufellsfoss, although modest in height compared to other Icelandic waterfalls, is essential to composing that fairy tale frame that has conquered directors, photographers, and travelers from all over the world. Here, each shot is a small tribute to the visual power of nature. This morning we woke up early to capture the magic of the sunrise along the cliff that connects Arnarstapi to Helnir, a stretch of wild and spectacular coast, sculpted by time and the primordial forces of the ocean. Our first stop is Gakkiltur, the rocky arch symbol of these cliffs, a natural masterpiece set between lava pinnacles, dark basalt walls, and the inexorable assault of the Atlantic waves. The path that leads us here is short and comfortable, and the panorama it gives us is of a rare and intense beauty, made of sharp contrasts and surprising geometries. A place that every photographer dreams of immortalizing, where nature expresses itself in all its visual power. After a fiery dawn that literally lit up the Gakelter Arch with red and gold reflections, we moved along the coast for another extraordinary encounter with Icelandic nature, the Lundranger Stacks. These imposing columns of lava rock, 75 and 61 meters high, are what remains of an ancient volcanic crater sculpted over time by the fury of the ocean. Even if they appear distant in our shots, their presence dominates the scene with silent and mystical force. The cliffs that surround them fall sheer into the sea, creating a harsh and powerful landscape, made even more suggestive by the incessant flight of the seagulls and the deep rumble of the waves that crash forcefully on the rock. Among the most iconic images of Iceland, the dark silhouette of Breathtaking, the famous black church, stands out as a true symbol of Nordic charm. Isolated, essential, immersed in an almost surreal landscape, it stands out between the snow-capped mountains and the open sea in a visual contrast that leaves you breathless. Its black color, although unusual for a sacred building, is perfectly consistent with the surrounding environment. Lava fields, impetuous wind, and an often leaden sky. Next to it, a small cemetery adds a touch of poetry and melancholy, although it is often crowded with tourists and almost always closed. For photographers, it remains an unmissable scene. Powerful in its simplicity, scenic in any light condition, Breathtaking is the quintessence of the most authentic and silent Iceland. Almost at the end of our journey, we finally take a break to photograph one of the most authentic symbols of Iceland, the Icelandic horses. With their compact stature, thick and resistant coat, and mane ruffled by the wind, they seem to have come out of a Nordic fairy tale. But behind their curious and fascinating appearance lies a unique story. This breed, among the purest in the world, descends directly from the horses brought by the first Scandinavian settlers in the 12th century. Since then, no genetic contamination, no crossbreeding. Iceland has protected these animals with an iron rule. No horse can enter the country, and if a specimen leaves it, it can never return. In exchange, these horses enjoy extraordinary health and perfect adaptation to the extreme climate of the island. Photographing them in their homeland, free and proud, is a deeply evocative experience, an encounter with nature and with the history of Iceland itself. And here we are, on the last day of this extraordinary journey. Before saying goodbye to Iceland, we headed towards the Reykjanes Peninsula in the wild heart of the southwest of the island, where Keflavik Airport is located. An area often overlooked by traditional tourist circuits, but capable of giving intense emotions to those who know how to appreciate its rough and primordial beauty. Here, at the foot of Reykjanesviti, the oldest lighthouse in Iceland, perched on a small hill exposed to the ocean winds, we witnessed a suggestive sunset, with the sky ablaze with colors and the waves crashing on the cliffs below. A perfect setting for the last shots of a journey that amazed us at every moment right up to the end.